Bonsoir, bienvenue sur ivoiretv.net. Vous nous suivez depuis Philadelphie à Clarion Hotel International Airport et nous sommes à la première édition du Forum des affaires de Philadelphie dénommé Prosper Africa, organisé par le US Small Business et le SPECI, le service de promotion économique de la Côte d'Ivoire aux États-Unis, au Canada et au Mexique, qui est dirigé par M. Enza Camara, délégué général. Et nous sommes maintenant avec un des grands participants, organisateurs aussi de ce forum, la Chambre de commerce et d'industrie de Côte d'Ivoire, représentée ici par son vice-président, M. Aruna Kone. Bonsoir, monsieur.
Bonsoir, madame.
Bienvenue à Philadelphie.
Merci.
Alors, le forum a commencé aujourd'hui.
D'accord.
Déjà, vos impressions.
Alors, nous avons une très bonne impression. Nous avons vu d'abord la participation de la partie américaine, ça nous enchante. Nous sommes venus avec une bonne délégation de plus d'une trentaine de personnes et nous sommes contents de ce genre d'occasion. Nous espérons que ce genre d'occasion va prospérer, qu'on aura d'autres rencontres et qu'on pourra en tirer parti.
Alors, en venant ici, il y avait forcément des objectifs. Déjà, après la première journée, ce qui vous a été donné de voir, il y a eu assez de panels. Une petite conclusion, bilan à mi-parcours.
Oui, par une revue intermédiaire, je peux dire que nous sommes satisfaits. C'est demain qu'on aura les matchmaking, si on aura la partie américaine et la partie ivoirienne. Les entreprises, cela s'entend bien sûr, qui ont envie de tisser des relations d'affaires, vont se rencontrer, pourront discuter en B2B pour essayer d'avoir des raisons de collaborer. Et c'est le but de la manœuvre.
Alors, comment les entreprises ivoiriennes, les PME que vous accompagnez en Côte d'Ivoire, comment ces entreprises peuvent profiter aujourd'hui de Prosper Africa?
D'accord. Le fait d'être ici est déjà de profiter, d'avoir l'occasion de rencontrer des entreprises, je veux dire en privé. Ce n'est pas évident de les rencontrer. Aucune entreprise ne peut se lever un matin pour rencontrer une entreprise américaine. Ce n'est pas évident et vice-versa. Prosper Africa, c'est l'occasion de se rencontrer déjà. Et il y a eu un travail préliminaire où on avait le profil de chaque entreprise de part et d'autre. On a essayé de matcher avec les raisons. Chaque entreprise ivoirienne venait pour faire des choses. On dit, bon, voilà ta partie américaine. Donc, c'est déjà bon que les gens se rencontrent pour essayer de voir qu'est-ce qu'ils peuvent faire ensemble. C'est déjà bon ça.
Vous avez un dernier mot à ajouter?
Alors, le mot que je pourrais ajouter, c'est d'inviter le maximum d'entreprises ivoiriennes à participer à ce genre de rencontres. Et ça leur permet de renforcer leurs capacités et de comprendre ce que c'est que l'AGOA. L'AGOA, on en entend parler, il y a eu le 18e forum en Côte d'Ivoire, il y a beaucoup d'entreprises qui ne savent pas ce que c'est. C'est une loi américaine lancée depuis 2000 sous le président Bill Clinton. C'est pour la croissance et les opportunités en Afrique. C'est une loi qui devait permettre à industrialiser les pays subsahariens. Alors, nous voulons exporter souvent, on a des produits qui ne sont pas labellisés, qui n'ont pas des normes. L'AGOA permet aux gens de se prendre au sérieux, d'avoir des produits labellisés, de travailler selon des normes. Vous ne pouvez pas exporter des produits aux États-Unis sans que cela ne respecte certaines normes.
En tout cas, merci beaucoup. Le forum a commencé aujourd'hui, je rappelle. Nous sommes ensemble jusqu'à demain. Et demain, on va vous recevoir ici encore pour faire le bilan de ces 2 jours d'échange avec les entreprises américaines. Merci beaucoup, M. Kone Aruna. Je rappelle que vous êtes le vice-président de la Chambre de commerce et d'industrie de Côte d'Ivoire. Merci à vous. Restez avec nous pour le prochain invité. Merci. Merci beaucoup. Alors, M. Bamba. C'est bon. J'appelle le deuxième. Il y a quoi?
Juste passer l'appareil photo.
Ah, d'accord, ok. D'accord. se met là.
Bon, ça veut dire que
Je mets quelque part là. Donald Jobo. Allez-y, allez, ça. Ouais.
Yes, that's correct.
C'est bon, vous avez fini maintenant?
Yes, that's correct. Yes. But how can I give you my personal, this is my personal business card? But yeah, I'm on the board, I'm into
Okay.
something else. Yeah.
You might want to
Lovely.
chat with him after
Lovely.
he's going to be on a panel next.
Okay.
Okay. She's going to interview him in a bit.
Donc, je te présente.
Bon, je suis
Voilà.
vice-président de l'association d'entraide des PME. C'est pour ça qu'il a dit que je suis officiel.
D'accord,
Donc,
ok.
je suis ici sous la coupole de la Chambre de commerce.
Ok, d'accord.
Voilà.
D'accord.
Voilà.
On peut y aller. Merci de suivre ivoiretv.net. Nous sommes toujours au forum. Un autre invité avec nous, il s'appelle Donald Jobo. Il fait partie de la Chambre de commerce et encore beaucoup de cordes à son cou. Bonjour.
Bonjour, madame. Très bien, je vais bien. Ben, ça se passe très très bien, ça s'améliore. Alors, je suis déjà très impressionné d'abord par l'organisation qui a été mise en place, autant par la SPECI, donc, qui est l'antenne de promotion économique ici, qu'aussi par la Chambre de commerce et tous les acteurs, notamment la SBA aux États-Unis. Et nous sommes aussi très satisfaits des échanges, des panels qui sont très enrichissants qui se font, qui permettent aussi aux deux nations donc de pouvoir se connaître et de comprendre aussi les différents potentiels qu'ils peuvent avoir des deux camps.
Alors, vous êtes très jeune, on vous voit, hein, même si on ne peut pas s'imaginer votre âge, mais l'impression que vous êtes jeune, vous êtes un jeune, vous êtes un entrepreneur, vous avez certainement fait votre parcours dans de différents services. Est-ce que vous pouvez vous présenter à nous en réalité? Qu'est-ce que vous faites?
Alors, je vous donne une présentation toute simple qui reflète peut-être le fait d'être jeune. Je suis président du mouvement des entrepreneurs de moins de 35 ans. Donc l'entreprise, je l'ai commencé il y a 10 ans de cela et donc ça a évolué. Comme vous avez dit tout à l'heure, j'ai plusieurs cordes à mon cou. Je suis dans l'aviation, donc je travaille dans l'aviation, dans la maintenance aéronautique et je travaille aussi dans le domaine du tourisme. La plupart des Ivoiriens qui verront ceci comprendront tout de suite et seront en train de se poser des questions. Je suis très actif dans le domaine du tourisme. Je suis un activiste dans la promotion des destinations africaines. Et finalement, je suis vice-président de l'association d'entraide des PME, qui est une fêtière qui est rattachée directement à la Chambre de commerce ivoirienne.
Alors, quand on a un CV aussi garni, aussi fourni, où on se retrouve finalement, sur quelle planète on exerce?
Alors, je pense qu'aujourd'hui, il faut plus s'asserter sur le fait que le monde soit global et pouvoir rentrer dans la diversité du business. Et c'est ce que nous faisons aujourd'hui. Là où je me suis senti au mieux, c'était aux côtés de la Chambre de commerce, qui allait naturellement me permettre une panoplie de présence dans différents secteurs d'activité des départements.
Un dernier mot avant qu'on se quitte, on sera ensemble demain encore.
Alors pour aujourd'hui, j'aimerais dire qu'on est très très satisfait. Toute la délégation qui comporte 40 entreprises, dont je suis le porte-parole en second, est très très satisfaite de cette mission. Nous pensons qu'au regard de la relation privilégiée qu'a la Côte d'Ivoire ou l'Afrique tout entière auprès des Occidentaux, nous pensons que cette réunion sera très fructueuse et demain que nous allons pouvoir naturellement avoir des Américains qui seront intéressés par la destination ivoirienne, mais pourquoi pas des hommes d'affaires ivoiriens aussi qui peuvent être intéressés par ce que proposent les Américains.
Donald Jobo, merci beaucoup. Je ne sais même pas sous quelle casquette vous présentez. Il y a tellement de voilà, c'est sa chambre de commerce. Voilà, c'est la grande structure ivoirienne, la chambre de commerce et d'industrie ivoirienne. Ce forum est placé aussi sous son organisation. Merci à vous. Restez avec nous sur ivoiretv.net. On continue les interviews avec les participants au forum. Merci beaucoup, monsieur Donald. Voilà, c'est bon.
C'est bon?
Ouais, c'est très bien. On va voir demain. On va changer de décor. On va changer de décor. On va bouger un peu. Tu vas faire quoi? Pardon, je t'entends pas. Ah, d'accord, ok, il n'y a pas de problème. Ouais, là. Voilà. Salim Obamba. DG de Côte d'Ivoire PME. C'est ça?
Oui, c'est bon.
Agence Côte d'Ivoire PME.
Oui, d'accord, c'est
C'est
bon.
ça, d'accord. Ouais, ça peut aller. Faut te mettre là.
Ok.
Nous sommes maintenant avec le directeur général de l'agence Côte d'Ivoire PME, monsieur Salimou Bamba. Bonsoir, monsieur.
Bonsoir, madame.
Vous êtes présent au forum depuis ce matin. C'était l'ouverture, le forum de développement des affaires. Vous avez effectué le déplacement. C'est placé aussi sous votre structure parce qu'on parle des PME, de développement des PME, de la promotion des PME à ce forum. Alors déjà, le thème, qu'est-ce que vous en pensez?
Je pense que c'est encore une autre bonne opportunité pour les entreprises ivoiriennes de pouvoir créer de la valeur en établissement des relations d'affaires avec leurs collègues américaines. C'est un gros défi parce qu'aujourd'hui, l'économie mondiale est basée sur le PME. Et le plus gros challenge, c'est que des entreprises américaines qui s'installent en Côte d'Ivoire ont besoin de partenaires fiables. Donc, comment est-ce qu'on fait en sorte que nos entreprises puissent se mettre au goût du jour, puissent développer des capacités, mais qui leur permettent de prendre des avantages. Parce que même quand une entreprise américaine s'installe dans nos pays, elle a toujours besoin d'un partenaire fiable. Et aujourd'hui, pour nous, c'est une belle opportunité de voir ici qu'il y a plus d'une quarantaine d'entreprises ivoiriennes qui sont arrivées et qui sont à la recherche de partenariats. Donc l'agence des PME aussi est là pour cela. Sous l'autorité du gouvernement, bien sûr, nous accompagnons les entreprises à pouvoir développer leurs compétences, à pouvoir, bien sûr, saisir les opportunités d'affaires. Donc pour nous, c'est une très belle occasion aujourd'hui.
Alors, aujourd'hui, ça a été couronné de panels, de rencontres. Je pense que demain, ça sera, comment on appelle ça, plus ouvert avec des rencontres B2B. Agence Côte d'Ivoire PME, vous êtes présent. Comment vous pensez que cela soit vraiment important, capital, cette rencontre pour les PME qui sont présentes? Parce qu'elles ont effectué nombreuses de déplacements, les entreprises ivoiriennes.
D'accord. Oui, effectivement, c'est une belle opportunité parce que cet événement a deux phases. La première partie concerne l'aspect des panels, qui est l'aspect un peu macro. Et demain, bien sûr, c'est l'opportunité pour des entreprises ivoiriennes de directement pouvoir s'engager à des entreprises américaines, de pouvoir discuter business, de pouvoir voir les opportunités d'affaires et bien sûr de pouvoir voir comment est-ce que, en relation avec des entreprises américaines, elles peuvent bâtir des partenariats et que ces entreprises, lorsqu'on va venir à Abidjan, et bien sûr sur la base du coût d'investissement, par exemple. Quand ces entreprises vont se baser à Abidjan, elles ont besoin de partenaires locaux. Donc pour nous, c'est une très bonne opportunité pour les entreprises ivoiriennes parce que même souvent aujourd'hui, pour bâtir des coopérations internationales, on a besoin de financement. L'avantage, c'est que ces entreprises américaines qui viennent bénéficient déjà de beaucoup de soutien de la part du gouvernement américain. Donc elles ont déjà du financement. Mais ce qui leur manque souvent, c'est l'expertise locale, c'est la connaissance du terrain. Ce qui, bien sûr, est la force des entreprises locales. Donc demain, pour nous, c'est une très bonne opportunité pour les entreprises ivoiriennes de bâtir des partenariats qui, dans le futur, vont les permettre de croître et bien sûr de pouvoir prendre avantage de certains accords commerciaux tels que l'AGOA. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, bien sûr, l'AGOA offre des opportunités. Mais pour les entreprises ivoiriennes, de pouvoir prendre avantage de ces opportunités, elles n'ont pas toujours la capacité. Donc, en se mettant en relation avec les entreprises américaines, elles ont la possibilité de pouvoir croître.
En tout cas, merci beaucoup, M. Bamba Salimou, directeur général de l'agence Côte d'Ivoire PME. Nous sommes ensemble jusqu'à demain. Demain, on sera encore ensemble pour faire le bilan de ce forum des affaires. Merci à vous d'être restés avec nous sur ivoiretv.net.
My mother always told me to stand up when I speak to people. It's a sign of respect. So when I came here today, I was invited and I thought this was a surprise party for my 70th birthday today. I've since found out that is not the case, and it was far more important. But I speak to respect because that is what the first step in doing business in any foreign country is. For the last 18 years, I've done business in and out of China, bringing investment to the United States and bringing business over there. And 2 years ago, I got introduced to Côte d'Ivoire by someone who was an Ivorian, who is now an American, and who's now back in the Ivory Coast working for me and for our team. And we have two parallels that we set up. One is a business-to-business organization called the U.S. West Africa Development Group to help Africans come here in the United States and find something that they're looking for without paying a lot of money or going through a lot of red tape, and vice versa, helping American companies go to Côte d'Ivoire and be successful, and to other countries in West Africa. The other is probably more important to me because it is a nonprofit organization called AfriMedNetwork.org. And what we hope to do, our group that we formed, and we're now recognized as a 501c3 by the U.S. government, is to build 6 to 9 medical centers across Côte d'Ivoire in the outlying areas where people do not have the access to the medical care that Côte d'Ivoire has worked so hard to bring to the cities and to the regions around the cities. And as you know, in the United States, it's not much different. You get much better treatment in Washington, D.C. than you get in West Virginia because it's more remote. So what we're doing is working very closely with the Ivorian government to set up a program to create these clinics around the country so that we can help people, mothers and children, get nourishment, learn more about their future, be healthier, because no matter how much business you develop, if the people working there and living there are not healthy, then they're of no use. And so we're working on a different plane to make sure, and the Ivorian government has been excellent in working with us. We've been certified as a recognized organization. We're now working with the Ministry of Health to go to the next level. But this has been an excellent day, and we have 1 sheets out on the table by one of the coffee machines on both episodes that we're doing. So anyone who wants to talk to us, there are 3 of us here, 2 of my colleagues are here. We'll be here tomorrow. We'll do any matchmaking with anyone. We'll answer any questions, whether today or tomorrow. And thank you. I appreciate the time, and I appreciate all of you paying attention.
Happy birthday!
Sorry to be a little disappointing with the non-surprise here. Right.
You got to do something in your life, and who'll hire me?
So going down the line here, I want to introduce Varma Mitchell from the Temple SBDC. Varma?
Hello, everyone. I'm with the Temple Small Business Development Center. I'm a member of the Pennsylvania Small Business Development Centers. We
participate in this event, but also to help my small companies that normally would not have access to Côte d'Ivoire get that access to be able to say, hey, I want to do this, or I'm looking at that as an opportunity. So that's kind of how it all works in my world and how we pull those pieces together. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Varma, can you talk about how some of the small business development centers and other local entities can help with business planning to work with the African markets?
Oh, definitely. Of course, we do partner with several other agencies, the U.S. Commerce Services, the U.S. Trade Development Agency, the PA Department of Community and Economic Development, and of course the Regional Export Network. And so in all of this, we are exposed to data, research information that we can share with our clients who wants to do business in Africa. And you know, as Denise was talking, I remember one client we had a few years ago who wanted to import cocoa from the African country. And they wanted some assistance from us in linking with either Hershey or another chocolate producing company here in the United States. And so we helped to navigate what the compliance and also tariff and duties and taxes and understanding how to do this. So this is something you find us engaged in all the time.
Thank you. Next question is for Jean. Can you talk about what tools and resources you use to go global and how small businesses can work with NGOs like yours to go global?
Well, I think the first thing is the smartest thing any company can do that seeks to go over to Côte d'Ivoire is understand the country you're going to. Understand the rules of the road in that country. Do not go in there thinking you're an American and you're smarter than everyone else. This is not America you're going to. This is a republic form of government, very similar to the United States in the way it's structured legislatively. But you need to learn about it. You need to have someone on the ground. It's what has helped us greatly to have an Ivorian born and raised living there. And then you also have to make an outreach to the American Embassy. You need to pay a courtesy call, notify them in advance that you're coming, and when you come, go and meet with them and learn from them. That's why they have a trade section there. That's why they spend so much time learning about where they are so they can help you, an American, go in there. And vice versa with regard to Ivorian companies coming here. One of the things that we're looking at doing as part of the group we put together to do profit-making business is to provide an opportunity to create a consortium so that any company that is coming from Africa or going to Africa can have the benefit of a group and not have to spend a lot of money to learn the rules of the road. And when you're working with NGOs specifically, you have to get someone who's a good grant writer, someone who understands how to make the pitch for support from a non-governmental agency, and then have them write the proper paper and then submit it. It's going to take time. You're going to need patience. And you have to follow the rules of the road because, as someone said earlier, the fine gentleman from Texas, you need the money. And if you can't get the money, then you're not going anywhere.
Thank you very much. Dale, I know we talked a little bit about the World Trade Center, but for the World Trade Center of Greater Philadelphia, because we might have some businesses from this region, can you highlight some of the resources that World Trade Center locally can help small businesses that want to do business with Côte d'Ivoire?
For sure. We are obviously also a 501c3 educational nonprofit membership organization, but through the grant that we received from the state of Pennsylvania, we can provide some very initial services both on the export and import side, but primarily the export side via the state of Pennsylvania's export program to not only educate people about what opportunities and how to export and import, what's required, but then also help them network with our members in the global logistics, freight forwarding or import broker side of things. We have a number of international lawyers and international bankers that are members of the World Trade Center. Something in definite need that for companies that are doing business, whether it's in Quebec in Canada or in the Ivory Coast, they're going to need to have dual language, both French and English, on their documentation. So we have a number of translation companies that are members that can work to help with your freight forwarder to get the proper documentation in the proper language.
Okay, thank you. Michelle, and I think this question may be for you, but maybe everybody, if you have a thought about this, agriculture and farming are huge. So can you talk a little bit about how farming and technology have advanced some of the things that are happening in the trade between the U.S. and Côte d'Ivoire?
I can talk about that because someone, Ambassador just brought to my attention that I forgot a really important nugget here, that we were able to export 5 containers of rice from Arkansas into Côte d'Ivoire. And That's huge for us because we are a farming state, and our number one export is rice. The largest poultry producer is or I should say the largest protein producer is Tyson, which is also based in our market. So we have ag research as it relates to farming practices specific to rice production, mitigating risk with pests and not using pesticides. How can we do it organically? So we have a program with the University of Arkansas Fayetteville and Africa Rice, which is based in Côte d'Ivoire. They have a program going back where they're doing different types of species of rice to see what climates it grows in, how it grows, how much water, how little water. We are doing farming and tech with drones where we look at the topography to determine how the land is laid out, where to put the rows, how to lay the rows, and we're sharing that information with Côte d'Ivoire. We're also looking at free-range chickens and how we can increase chicken production within various markets in Africa, Côte d'Ivoire specifically, and how that we can use that technology to feed chickens and still meet. It's kind of hard to explain because we farm chickens differently. You know, ours are in cages and everything else is a little more free range, and I say a happier chicken is a fatter chicken, right? So how do we do that? How do we go about doing that? We have the Tyson Poultry Science Center as a part of the university, so they're looking at other ways and different things that they can do as well.
Great, and I didn't even know that was the conversation. How about that, right? About the rice and the agriculture. Mr. Hartigan, Jean, I know that you have a couple of programs that you're working on, but can you talk a little bit about the AfriMed network and the health and things that you're doing to make sure that that things are going well in Côte d'Ivoire and with the health of the society? Are you working on things with that?
Well, we're really in our infancy in that it's less than 2 years since we started this. This happened when I went to Abidjan and I looked around and I saw the number of young children and women who looked like they needed a helping hand, and I thought, this is not a problem I'm going to deal with my family or my grandchildren. And I felt that before you can do business, you've got to make sure people have health. And to his credit, Ambassador and his team in New York have been very helpful and very supportive. And a special thank you to Madam Viola Green, who first brought me to the UN to meet with the West African women who listened and all wanted to do something across all of those countries. And I told them I'm not a Superman, one country at a time. But it's something, I've always felt that the United States has kind of turned a deaf ear to a lot of things that are happening in Africa. And we don't do enough to educate Americans about what Africa is. Because if you go there and you see, it's not much different. It's families, it's children going to school, it's people trying to earn a living. It is a society very similar to ours with a very similar government. And so we have a person on the ground who's working every day, listening to the ministry, listening to the people. We have already been able to reach out to 5 of the communities, and in those communities, the local leaders, with the blessing of the federal government, have agreed to deed the land to us for 10 years at no charge, knowing that in the end, that community health center will be turned over to them, because after 6 years, we sunset our role and we walk away after we've made these clinics self-funding. This is not a charity. It is something we're looking at as a business. So we have timelines and we have budgets, and we're sticking to those, and we're keeping our overhead down to make sure the money goes where it should go to improve and help the government of Côte d'Ivoire increase the medical coverage. And they've done an excellent job, but you can only service so many people. So we're augmenting that a little bit and helping out a little bit along the way. So it takes time, it takes energy, and I would only say that we've really had very, very good response from the government. And the only reason I stood, Mr. Ambassador, was it's the only time I'll be taller than you.
You know what, this may be for Varma, but I'm not sure. What other organizations do you partner with in helping small businesses go global? Do you partner with others?
Oh, yes. Of course, the U.S. Department of Commerce and the PA network, regional network. You know, the PA regional network can have an outreach of over 70 countries. And so it just opens up more avenues for our people to explore, you know. And quite a few of the other organizations, I think we have connection with the World Trade Center also. Martin Brill, who is the lead, he told me, he said, don't let those World Trade Center folks run you off the stage. So he prepared me. He prepared me. But definitely, we cannot do it alone. We have to have relationships with other organizations and find other resources to help our clients. We're like the foot soldiers. They come to us. They are green, they're empty, and they're looking for resources. And it is the challenge to work with other organizations to provide those resources for our clients. And it's working very well.
So for the panel, does anybody have any suggestions on partnerships or strategies? I know Jean mentioned earlier getting to know the community that you want to work in, but is there anything else that you would offer as, you know, advice or assistance with somebody that's thinking about getting involved with this?
Put you on the spot.
Lots to learn and say and do. Obviously, the first thing to do before you go in country is to do some study about the culture, the language, the family organizations, because the rest of the world doesn't do business the way you do in the United States. You don't either meet just someone at a networking event and then call them on the phone or send an email, and all of a sudden you might be a business partner or doing business together or get an order. In the rest of the world, it takes time to develop those relationships. And you want not only someone that's pre-vetted, but typically it's going to mean going and having some meals with them, working and training with them, inviting them to your facility for that training. It's a lot of one-on-one relationship building. And a lot of Americans just don't understand that culture, but that's the way the rest of the world works. The internet and FaceTime and all of the other electronic methods of communicating are great, and they make the world go faster. But you're not going to get, you might be lucky and get a first order if you meet someone at a trade show or on a trade mission, but you're never going to get the second order unless you take the time and really build that relationship.
I would like to add, I apologize, I'd like to add to that because I always say in international business there's three factors: relationship, relationship, relationship. The bottom line is, I don't care who you are, if you're doing business globally, you only want to do business with people you like. You want to do business with people that you would call and consider them a friend. Because at some point or time, you're going to have a problem that you have to overcome, an obstacle, a challenge, as I call them, opportunities for better methodology of how you're doing something. And the only way that you can overcome that is if you have a relationship with the people that you have the opportunity with and the challenge with. And you grow and you learn, you expand together. So relationships really is key. And I agree with you completely about the American way that we do business is certainly not the way that it's done anywhere else in the world. I will say that maybe the US and Canada are very similar, but once you cross those two ponds, that's it. Everything else is driven and predicated on how you treat someone else and having a sincere appreciation for their culture, for their business goals and objectives, and also for their family. I can't not ask about someone's family members. I can't not ask about how they're doing. and taking a true interest in them personally, because if I don't have that contact, heart-to-heart contact, it's going to be very challenging for me to conduct business. And I think that is the one lesson that I have learned 12 years into this, more than anything, is that no matter where I go in the world, if I called Mr. Camara, Ambassador Camara, my friend, and said, hey, do you know someone in, he's going to go, yes, let me call them for you. Let me let them know you're there. And that's hard. That takes time. And just like if he called my office and said, I'm going to be in Paris, do you know anyone there? Which I know is a bad country, but I mean, that's one I got. You know, yes, I do. And let me call them for you. So I think those are the types of things. The business is the icing on the cake, but the cake in and of itself is that relationship, that friendship, and the movement that comes from all of that, and all the things that ripple, the ripple effect. I always tell my clients, when you're doing business in Africa, in this case, let's just say pick a country. It's the ripple effect. You throw a pebble and you see the ripple. But in Africa, you throw the tiniest pebble and the ripple goes on and on and on. It's almost as if it's not endless, and you see immediate impact and immediate results. And that means so much more when you can say, I was able to do this with my friend.
I echo both Denise and Dale's comment. It's, if you've got a message, then tell it. And tell it to every single person you can. Put a business card in every single hand that will take it, and anyone who will listen, tell them the story. And keep pushing. Over the next 6 years, we're going to raise or try to raise $20 million to do this project. The only way we're going to do that is keep reaching out, whether it be in Los Angeles with the Hollywood community, or whether it be in Chicago with some of the magazine publishers, or whether it be here. Everyone has to know what we're trying to do, and you need to direct them to what your project is, what your goals are, and you have to keep pushing and pushing until they say, stop it, I don't want to hear anymore. That's what your goal is. Either that or your passion is not going to be felt.
That's great. Before we wrap up, are there any questions from the audience that we may have missed? Anything that you would like to hear from our esteemed panelists? No? We're good? Well, oh, yes. Mm-hmm. I'll give it back.
Yes, my question is directed to Denise. Being that Africa is pegged to be if Africa was to adopt focusing on developing agriculture, and that potentially it could maybe enhance some level of economic growth, if we had farmers or entrepreneurs or business owners looking to get ideas or learn about what you guys do in the agriculture industry, would your, I guess, agency be open to hosting delegations to actually take them to these farms where it's more practical for them to see what agriculture can do in driving economies?
Yes, yes, and yes. Love it. We do it already, and that's something that we're open to. We can take people on tours, we show them farms, we show them farming practices, we take them to the institutions, we take them into processing mills. We can't take you into a Tyson processing plant, but we can take you into some of the rice processing plants. You can see that. And there's all these other byproducts of rice. There's all these other byproducts from corn. I mean, there's so much that can happen from rice in particular. It boggles the mind. When I learned all of this, I became the local rice expert, so I don't want to go into all the details, but from one thing of rice can produce oil, it can produce feed, it can produce husk for bedding for chickens. I mean, it's just a long list. Feed for cattle, feed for people, and it just goes on and on. But yes, we would love to do that, and just give me your information and let's start working towards it.
Sure, because the idea is when we host our second one, it would be coupled with maybe like people in manufacturing going to manufacturing facilities, and we'll have to arrange where whoever is interested in agriculture and farming go to. We'll arrange those tours around. So that's kind of where we're trying to take it.
Would love to.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Yuma Ba. I'm the president of Echoes of Africa. I have a question regarding the trade between the United States and Africa. I'm from Senegal originally. But my problem is when you come to all these businesses in the United States, it's so few you will see made in Africa. So few. You will see made in China, made in Mexico, made. But the made in Africa is little, you know, based off like what we can do. And I just like point out about like Walmart, Lowe's, you name it, Home Depot, all this big company. You will go like all over, you know, place by place, you don't see any made in Africa. How can we work out these big companies to be able to have, you know, I think plants in Africa to do at least some stuff? I think it will be help, you know, this trade, because sometimes I heard trade, but it's so small, you know, based about what America can do, you know, and how can we really, really have a big businesses in this country. Thank you.
Okay, a couple of things on that. I know that in Tunisia, there's a large manufacturing for luxury apparel being manufactured. So Giorgio Armani's doing stuff there. I want to say, I think Saks may be doing some of their things there. So you do have some things popping up. Also in Kenya, there's a lot of manufacturing. Some of that stuff is beginning to trickle into Walmart, into some of the larger retailers, but again, it is small. So it's coming slowly. But with your voice and with you building capacity to be able to meet those manufacturing standards, the biggest issue isn't so much they're saying we don't want it, they're saying we want it. But the manufacturers have to meet the US standards to be able to move those goods into the US market. And what Italy did was they went offshore because of the cost of manufacturing those products, but they went to a country, if you look at the map, it's right at the end. Tunisia almost touches Italy. So that's why they're there, and they developed those manufacturers to do that. I know that USAID has a representative, because I met him a couple of years ago, for the Kenyan manufacturers in apparel. And that's something that's growing, and they're huge factories, but they're gearing themselves and stepping up their manufacturing to meet those US specifications. So if you know manufacturers, you can call my office and we can help you identify people that can come over and help do the training. Now, it's a company that does it, they're organizations, but they already work with Walmart, Costco, BJ's for their manufacturing, because they already are doing private label all over the place. So they're people who actually will go to your factories and say, okay, these are the US standards, this is how you're gonna do it, this is what you're gonna need for your certifications, and this is how you're gonna get on the list to be able to do private label for these people and potentially build a brand for the US market that's your own.
One more question.
Hi, good afternoon. Shanita Ann with Britnell Health Services, the group Research and Development and the Healthcare Sector. For Mr. Gene Hartigan, happy birthday again. I just wanted to see, in your opinion, how well is the platform set for cross-industry collaboration, whereas we know now partnering early childhood education with maternal units works. So partnerships like that, is Côte d'Ivoire set up or primed for that already? And if not, what do you think could help?
Well, the key is how eager is the government to work with you and be flexible. And I must tell you that I find them extremely willing to work with you. So, you know, in any program, wherever you are, if you advance the program and detail it and work on it and be careful, it can work. So I think there is a synergy with the people in Côte d'Ivoire. The one thing that really I was impressed with, not only do they understand what their resources are, but they are doing all they can to promote them, but they promoted them to people who will listen. And that has mostly been Europeans. And the French have stuck in Côte d'Ivoire and never left. And that was very important. Now, Asians are coming in and investing, and we have not spent enough time understanding the value of going into Côte d'Ivoire, to Ghana, to other parts of Africa as a whole. There's been minute work done, but not enough. And this is the future. This is a whole continent. And for us, we look at it that some of these children are the future of the world, not just of Africa, but of the world. So if you help them and their mothers to be healthy, and if you work to educate, and one of the parts of our community health centers we're doing is a room that's separate from the medical side, where locals can come in and sit, access computers, learn information they may not otherwise have access to. Because the only difference between a poor, uneducated person and an educated person who's healthy is access to the skills and the health care. So.
All right, well, I want to, do we have time for one more question? One more question, okay. Oh, Mike is right behind you, the microphone.
Thank you very much. I think I'd like to make a comment. First of all, I'd like to thank the U.S., the SBA, Mr. Kamara's office, and all these gentlemen here for this event. I must say that I'm very, very happy and proud to be here today. We're talking Prosper Africa. We're not talking how do we provide aid to Africa, how do we provide money handout to Africa. We're talking about development, and that's really a new age, and this is really an exciting age. It boggled my mind of years to see that the strongest economy in the world was totally disengaged in Africa. I mean, the U.S. was totally absent in Africa. With all the opportunities that are out there, and it's really nice to hear that these new initiatives are coming up, and the U.S. is going to be engaging more Africa on how to develop that continent, how to be a partner in the development of that country. So I'd like to thank you all for this. I'd like to make sure that we continue this. It's very important. Africa no longer needs handout, needs development partners, needs private investment, needs partners that can really come and help us develop that continent. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that is the perfect way to end this segment here. Wonderful comments. I want to thank our panelists who are amazing. Thank you for sharing your time and your talent with this group today, and we look forward to continuing the development with each country. Thank you.
Thank you, Trish, and thank you, panelists. Really appreciate it. Wonderful panel. At this point, we wanted to remind everyone of the importance of attending the matchmaking event tomorrow. The ribbon cutting is going to be at 9 a.m. And is there anybody in the room who has the details on the matchmaking event and would like to briefly speak to it before I invite the panel up? So at this point, then, let's invite the panel moderated by David Glackham, SBA's Associate Administrator for International Trade. I'm the deputy. And the rest of the panel. What it's about, this panel's about how a government helps build an ecosystem to enable small business growth. So can the panelists please join David Glackham on the stage?
Who are we missing? Got Beth.
Yeah, I know Janelle's here and Tony. They were outside. Here they are.
Tony and Janelle. Perfect. No, ma'am. Good to meet you. Yeah, thanks. Have a seat. All right. All right. The final panel, and what may be the shortest, just because I want to keep everybody on time. I do thank everybody who's been able to stay here throughout the program. I want to support what Michelle just said. We ensure that you sign up for the matchmaking tomorrow so you can get in front of the businesses. It's really what this is about. Learn about the programs available to you, learn about the different opportunities in our two countries, but then actually to do business together. Something we're going to work on. I'm working on with Ambassador Kamara. We just mentioned that we're going to follow up after this to ensure that there is appropriate follow-up, as was a question earlier. So briefly, what I want the panel to talk about, and luckily I get to work with the folks on this stage, or at least the folks on the U.S. side often. One of the programs is managed actually out of my office from Beth in our STEP grant program. But just if you'd introduce yourself and briefly go over how you support U.S. or Ivorian businesses to do business with other countries. And at least from our side, from the folks from the U.S. government side, I was just in Rhode Island, and we did a manufacturers forum. And the questions I kept getting were always about markets. How do we even find markets? If we have a business code, how do we identify opportunities, which I know there are resources available, and I always tout commerce and STEP. And then how do we help them get there? And then on the Ivorian side, what do your businesses need to do, or what should our U.S. businesses be looking for as they try and do business in your country? So I'll start with you, Tony. We'll just go down the line.
Okay, great. Thank you. My name is Tony Poo. I'm with the U.S. Commercial Service. So we are the export promotion agency of the U.S. Department of Commerce. And so our mission is strictly export focused, how to promote U.S. companies to expand and enter and expand into foreign markets. To give you an idea where we are based, so I'm based at the Philadelphia office, and we have offices in all the major cities, so that's about 100 offices in the U.S. And then overseas, we have folks, specialists at the U.S. embassies and U.S. consulates, and these commercial specialists are also broken down by industry sectors, so they know what's going on. They're the feet on the ground, knowing what's going on the ground and for the industry, what are the opportunities, what are the challenges for U.S. exporters looking to do business in that market. So to just briefly go over what I do is, on my end, help U.S. companies understand the export planning process. So all of the elements that go into export planning, from understanding, like was just mentioned, how do you target markets? Which markets are the ones you should be targeting based on your strategy and what your products and services are offering. So we do have a method with that, and I can explain later if you like, but helping you target which markets, engaging with our commercial specialists to see, to understand whether there is potential for you in that market, and then, of course, carry out that plan in the market. How do you meet the local partners? How do you connect with opportunities, trade leads, trade shows, either domestic or overseas, trade missions to markets in that region. So plenty of things to engage in. How do you penetrate into foreign seas market like Côte d'Ivoire? So I will stop there, and I'll pass off to Janelle, who's my colleague in DC, so she can go over a little bit more about our programs.
Thank you, Tony, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Janelle Edens. I work alongside Tony as well for the U.S. Commercial Service, particularly in Washington, D.C. I work in the Office of Africa, where I focus on 12 other markets within West and Central Africa, Côte d'Ivoire being one of those markets. Part of my role is to serve as the liaison between our headquarter office as well as our 8 other commercial service offices across sub-Saharan Africa. So we have offices in Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, Mozambique, South Africa, Angola, Nigeria, and Ghana. We also have a special partner liaison role in Côte d'Ivoire at the African Development Bank. So part of my job, in addition to being the liaison, is also working with our interagency partners, so SBA, for example, USTDA, EXIM, OPIC, to make sure that we are sharing policy updates and information, particularly trade barriers or trade policy issues in the markets that we focus on in sub-Saharan Africa. I also work closely with the commercial officers based in the countries that I mentioned earlier. In my region, I work most closely with Ghana. We have a commercial office there, and then I have another colleague that works closely with our commercial office in Nigeria.
In addition to that, the headquarters office also leads key programs. One program that we lead in the Office of Africa is the Presidential Advisory Council on Doing Business in Africa. So this council advises the president through the Secretary of Commerce, so Wilbur Ross, on how to expand commercial engagements across sub-Saharan Africa. So right now we have a council of 26 U.S. companies that help with coming up with key reports that we could share with the President of the United States that we could then implement down the line. And in addition to that, we also focus on another key program, our advocacy program, which is a program where we help with U.S. companies with bidding on public procurement opportunities across the globe. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Aruna Kone. I'm the Vice President of Côte d'Ivoire Chamber of Commerce. But I need somebody to translate what I'm going to say. Frank? Donald? Mamadou? Frank, come.
Oh, pour traduire. Ok. Ah, je passe, j'ai pas tout concentré. Ok. So, just briefly, c'est qui avait parlé? Le premier. Can you just recap quickly because I wasn't paying attention to? I'm sorry. I was. Yeah. So can you say quickly and then I'm going to translate back, please?
Just.
Recap of what you said.
Oh, I was just. We were just going over the resources that are available from the panelists to the businesses in the room, so that we can help them enter each other, get into each other's markets.
Okay. So, en français, hein? Donc, principalement, ce qu'ils disent, c'est qu'ils ont plusieurs ressources qui vont profiter aux petites et moyennes entreprises de la Côte d'Ivoire. Pour récapituler, mais bon, je vais continuer à partir de là, si vous voulez. Oui. Hein? C'est une question. Okay. C'était quoi la... What was the question? I'm sorry.
Oui. Just what resources do y'all have available to help your business?
Ok. Quelles sont les ressources que nous avons en Côte d'Ivoire pour que les gens d'ici puissent nous aider? Voilà.
Merci bien.
Thank you.
En Côte d'Ivoire, nous avons beaucoup de ressources.
In Ivory Coast, in Côte d'Ivoire, we have a lot of resources.
Les premières ressources, c'est notre volonté.
Our first resource is our willingness.
Et après, le gouvernement, avec sa volonté, a mis en place un écosystème qui comprend plusieurs axes.
So basically, with our willingness, the government of Côte d'Ivoire put in place a project which contained a lot of parameters, aspects.
Le premier axe, c'est l'AGOA, que
So
nous adoptons.
the first aspect is AGOA, as African Growth Opportunity, that was enacted back in 2000 by George Bush, President.
Oui, c'est vrai que c'est une loi qui date de 2000, non?
Yep,
2000,
that's a law. Yep.
Une loi sur la croissance et les opportunités en Afrique qui a stagné un peu quand même. Mais quand le président Ouattara Alassane, son excellence, est arrivé, son parcours, son excellent et riche parcours, nous profite parce qu'il a compris cela. Il a mis en place le SPECI, ici, pour faciliter notre compréhension du marché américain. Il a pris une loi en 2015 pour aider les entreprises à être plus performantes, pérennes et davantage compétitives. Parce que pour aller dans l'AGOA, il faut respecter certaines normes. C'est pourquoi, avec le CPC, l'APEXI, Côte d'Ivoire PME et la Chambre de commerce, on nous a permis d'éduquer, entre guillemets, les entreprises pour être éligibles sur le marché américain.
So basically, just to recap, he was saying that back in 2000, when the AGOA law was enacted by President Bush, our president, in his vision, put in place a program to make sure that whatever stuff we're going to do in Côte d'Ivoire, we are going to be eligible to the AGOA program, because with the AGOA program allow the United States market to have some African product to come up here. So there was a program put in place by our president. Among those programs include the SPACY, directed by our dear leader here, Mr. Enza Kamara. We have another component, which is the CPC in Côte d'Ivoire, and those agencies working together to make sure that our product can be competitive here in the U.S. market.
Parce que l'un des objectifs de l'AGOA était de permettre aux pays subsahariens d'être industrialisés. Mais jusqu'alors, on découvre qu'il n'y a que peu de pays qui en profitent.
So the purpose of the AGOA is was for the African country to develop themselves, to develop their product. But until now, even though this law was enacted in 2000, we still have some difficulty for the African product to penetrate the American markets. And just to do a recap quickly, the question specifically was, what are the challenges that the Africans, SMEs, are facing right now so that they can provide us some resources, so that they can help her? Quels sont les problèmes que nous avons? Comme ça, eux, ils peuvent nous aider. C'était ça la question principale. Donc, quels sont les challenges que nous avons pour qu'ils puissent nous aider?
On l'a dit, les challenges, c'est d'être compétitif. C'est de respecter les normes américaine pour pouvoir exporter. Ici, c'est ça. Donc, nous avons mis, quand il y a le SPACY, c'est pour aider à réguler cela. Quand il y a eu la loi, c'est pour aider les PME à être performantes et davantage compétitives. Après, les produits qui sont éligibles à l'AGOA, l'artisanat, le textile, tout ça, on va en parler après. C'est parce que, bon, je voulais, on va passer et puis on va en parler après.
So, basically, again, one of the things is, basically, we were trying to penetrate the American market, and marketing, laws, and everything was challenging that we had. And so, even though with the AGOA that came up in 2000, we're still having some problem. Now, to try to resolve those issues, the government put in place different agencies that are facing some of the challenges to resolve the issue. So, SPACY, Côte d'Ivoire Agency for SMEs are among those agencies that were put in place to ensure that our product are competitive, we'll have a good competition here in the U.S. market. That's what we're doing right now.
Thank you very much. Well, you've heard federal, and we've heard from Côte d'Ivoire on their resources, but now from the states, state of Pennsylvania and state of Delaware.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I have a small presentation I want us to go over quickly.
That's all right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Dr. Alain Morta, representing the state of Pennsylvania. Son Excellence, Monsieur le Ministre, je voudrais, au nom de notre gouverneur Tom Wolf, vous souhaiter la bienvenue avec la délégation qui vous accompagne. C'est avec beaucoup d'appréciation que nous vous recevons ici en Pennsylvanie. Ce n'est pas le seul État, mais vous avez choisi de venir ici et ça nous va tout droit au cœur. Pour cela, recevez notre gratitude. I would like to go over what Pennsylvania has to offer quickly. So Pennsylvania is a state of 12.8 million. We have a workforce of 6.4 million, very skilled workforce, because we are very well known in terms of education. We have over 250 universities here in Pennsylvania. And some of the universities are the best. I can name Wharton, which is the #1 school of business here in the US. I can name Carnegie Mellon, which is a #3 engineering university in the US. The unemployment rate for Côte d'Ivoire, the data we have say 2.5, which I don't know. You guys are going to tell me if that's true or not. Looks like sounds like a full employment. So I don't know, but that's what we got. Our unemployment rate is 3.5. 8%. Next slide, please. In terms of trade, Pennsylvania have a story of trade relationship with African countries. Speaking of Côte d'Ivoire, we have exported 15.6 million in commodities to Côte d'Ivoire. And at the same time, we imported 400 million of commodity from Côte d'Ivoire to Pennsylvania. So we buy more of your goods than we sell to you. That means that we really like the relationship. Next slide, please. Here are some of the commodities that Pennsylvania sells to Côte d'Ivoire. Mineral fuel, pharmaceutical product, vehicles, industrial machinery, including computer, and so forth. That's the 15.6 million that we sell to Côte d'Ivoire. Next slide. In return, we bought almost 400 millions, which is cocoa and cocoa preparations. And as you can tell, Côte d'Ivoire is #1 in cocoa. So Pennsylvania is buying a lot of cocoa, and we have Hershey Company, which is here in Pennsylvania. So this is coming basically from big corporations. And beside that, we buy woods articles, we buy vegetable, fruit, and everything. I can see all the things here. You guys have so many products. My guess is that most of them are imported from people that are not really of African descent. And that's the challenge that we have here. I will say that right now, if you want to buy African products, you have to go to the Chinese store to buy it. Where are the Africans? Why can't they sell those products? So that's the challenge that is out there, what we need to overcome. Next slide. Pennsylvania our location is the best. Within 1 day drive, you can reach 40% of the US population. That's a huge market. 329 million population. You reach 40% of them within 1 day drive. And within 1 day drive, you can also reach 60% of the population in Canada, making Pennsylvania the best location for business. We have 6 international airports. Mobility is very important when it comes to doing business. So you can go in and out overseas or within Pennsylvania or within the United States very quickly. You don't have to wait. We have so many airports. We have 3 ports, the port of Philadelphia, the port of Erie, and the port of Pittsburgh, which is also very important when it comes to do business. Next slide, please. Pennsylvania itself, if you take Pennsylvania as a country, we are the 18th largest economy in the world. We have 809 billion GDP. So our GDP, we are bigger than countries like Ireland. We are bigger than countries like Belgium, Denmark, Saudi Arabia, Switzerland. So Pennsylvania as a state is a huge economy. Next slide. That's the last. Okay, so I need to touch on some of the programs that we have here for Pennsylvania businesses looking to do business overseas, including Côte d'Ivoire, or for overseas company looking to do business here in Pennsylvania. And when I say overseas company, I also include Côte d'Ivoire. The thing is that there is a myth out there. It's difficult for company to come and do business in the US. You really don't have to be a millionaire to come and do business in Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, we understand that you can be a one-person company and you can grow to a 1,000 company. So if you need the support, you can still get the support from us, which is something that some other states do not do. 2 weeks ago, I was with a company from India. It's a startup company. As long as you have a very good product, a product that can strive here, you will get our support. And that startup company is in the medtech. They came. I spent 1 week with the company to show them around. I took them from Erie to Pittsburgh to Williamsport to Scranton. 1 week. Pennsylvania is a huge, very long state. But it's a startup company. They don't really have sales yet, but we understand that they may have sales, so we provide the support. And everything that we do is free of charge. So if you are a company in Côte d'Ivoire thinking about expanding into the US, you can reach out to your embassy here, provide the detail, the embassy can reach out to us and we can support that. As long as you can buy your ticket, you can get the visa. Of course, you need a visa to come here, and you pay the hotel. We do the rest. So it's not very hard to do it, and I'm putting it out there so you guys know that we can do it, because we are supporting companies from China, we are supporting companies from the rest of the world that are coming and expanding here. Last month, I had a company from Japan that came, and that company had a place here in Philadelphia at the Science Center. The other thing that I want to say is that you don't need to come and have a big place for your business. You can have a small office in an incubator. We have so many incubators here in Pennsylvania. You can rent an incubator. You can rent a co-sharing space, pay maybe $300, $400 a month. That will provide you the US address, and that will provide you the opportunity also to start building your business here in Pennsylvania. In terms of some of the incentives that we have for companies looking to do business in Pennsylvania, I will go through that very quickly. We have what we call KOZ, Keystone Opportunity Zone. If you are located in one of those zones, you get a tax abatement for 10 years. You don't pay local tax, you don't pay state tax for 10 years. So this is a good advantage for companies looking to do business here. We also have what we call KIZ, Keystone Innovation Zone. We have 29 of them. So if you are located around those zones are proximity to the university. The idea is to develop collaboration between company and universities. And if you are located there, you can get a tax break for up to $100,000. We also have workforce development grant that provides support for company to hire people here. And for company in Pennsylvania that wants to export overseas, we have what we call the STEP grant that we get it through SBA, and we really appreciate the collaboration with SBA. And that grant provides $500,000 to a company, a Pennsylvania company, who wants to go overseas. And the company has to be qualified as export ready. In Philadelphia here, we go through the World Trade Center. So we work with our regional partners to do so. So we provide $5,000 to company to cover the expenses on going overseas. If they want to go to Côte d'Ivoire to meet some of the company or sell their product, we can provide that, but they have to be qualified export ready before we do so. And we paid up to 75% of their expenses for the trade show that cover air freight and those kind of things. Or you want to develop international website, we can cover that as well. So that's basically the system, the ecosystem that we have here in Pennsylvania. I will be around for more questions if you have it. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's a good transition. Beth is here from the Delaware office that manages STEP. If you could explain to folks more about STEP, and just so you know, as you heard, Pennsylvania gets a STEP grant, Delaware has a STEP grant. There are 48 active STEP grants in states across the United States.